You've probably been watching a lot of food TV, because otherwise why would you be here, right? You like knives, you like food, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we're gonna do all of our mise en place. That's a word that gets thrown around a lot. In French, it means everything in its place. It's a very common term in a restaurant setting for doing all your prep ahead of time. So I'm gonna chop a bunch of stuff. We're gonna talk about what knives I'm using, and then we'll throw it all together later and cook it up. So I'm gonna use, what am I gonna do first? I got a bunch of knives to choose from. I'm gonna start with a nakiri and some green peppers. Like a nakiri for doing veggies, it's kinda, we all know why at this point, right? Nice flat profile, whole thing touches the board at the same time when you're cutting. Might not be the best choice for, you know, doing some large amounts of butchery, but perfect for vegetables. This is a Haruki Zanpa, which, you know what, it makes a really great gift. It looks flashy. It's got this really cool Whirlpool Damascus on it. Big fan of the octagonal handle. Stainless steel, easy to take care of. You know, if you're chopping up a bunch of veg and the phone rings or the doorbell rings, or maybe you just got too drunk to finish cooking, you can clean up later. You know, a big one in my house is watermelon is well liked, which is good because if I buy one decent sized watermelon, I get like at least a week of lunches. What am I gonna do next? Gonna dice some onions. I want to use this. So here I got this is a Kurosaki Senko. This is a little bunka. This is gonna be good for onions. Thin blade, pointy at the tip is good for the kind of cutting through to the root. So the point, would really, you know, the point would be really handy if you were, say, scoring a piece of meat before you sear it, or, you know, sometimes you see those like miso baked eggplant and you do the crosshatch across the top. Really good. I like it for kind of digging into the onion here as I cut back towards the root before I dice it. Nice thing about a bunka like this is it's got a little bit of a curve to the blade or belly to the edge. Makes it easy for rocking it back and forth. Like you can see I kind of glide it through and let the edge dictate the motion. Now that I've put the nakiri away, we're going to use this food scoop to get everything going. So celery is a little bit longer than the other thing, so I grabbed a bigger knife, right? A gyuto. This is kind of my favorite size. I like a 240 gyuto. I don't care if it has a Western handle, Japanese handle. That doesn't bother me, but this is the knife that I kind of came up in a kitchen using, something this size. It's good. It's kind of longer motions. You know, even with this celery here, like I'm not forced to cut them too small. Like I don't have to cut them in half to be able to safely use this big knife. I can just glide right through. Try not to get too many leaves in. When you saute celery leaves, they often burn and they taste bad. Yeah. Big knife lets you cut lots of things at the same time. You know, I'm not forced to break this into little piles. I can deal with all of it at once. Yeah, I know we're using a lot of different knives to make this today, but if I was forced to choose, this is my pick. I can do almost everything with a 240 gyuto. Another knife that you would probably get a ton of use out of, and I could have used this knife for almost any job so far and upcoming, a good mid-sized petty. This is a 135 petty from Haruki. Probably the one that I would reach for. I have a 150 I use a lot at home, but 135 is a good, perfect right in the middle. Not too big, not too small. I'm just gonna use it to core these tomatoes, squeeze out some of the seeds and give it a quick dice. So it's got a nice point. It's good for stuff like that. Tomato, like coring a tomato, coring a, I don't know, like a strawberry, anything kind of like that. Often these get called a utility knife, and it's fairly obvious. You know, you can use them for a lot of different stuff. If you didn't have a designated boning knife or knife for butchery, A petty is really handy. If maybe you're just afraid of bigger knives, a petty is a great option. There's very little you can't do with one. Now, if you're dicing with a knife this size, I just kind of caught myself there. Hang out at the back of your cutting board so your hand is hanging over the end, and it'll work a lot better for you. I'm getting sick of chopping garlic for videos. You know, I've done it I've probably chopped more garlic, and it is just for people to watch me do it, than I've used garlic in a month. So, I've said it lots of times before, I don't like using my knife to smash garlic. You can, but be careful. Bring it to the back of your board. Be gentle. You know, you just have to press it a little bit to get the skin to come off. A gyuto or a santoku, something like that is handy. A little bit of a wider face. Don't try to do that with a petty, otherwise you'll dig it right into your hand. Yeah, let's talk about this knife. What have I got here? I got a 210. These people call it a gyuto. It's kind of a kiritsuke. Got a little bit of attitude, you know, pointy tip. Works just like a gyuto. They look good. They're fun to use. This one's kind of got a neat handle. I know I keep talking about handles, but it comes up, you know. It's the part you're holding on to when you use a knife. This is a 7-sided. I think they call it a heptagon. I think it's quite comfortable. I like the way it fits in my hand. It does throw off some people sometimes. It's just something a little bit different. Yeah, I guess the word kiritsuke isn't 100% accurate. Normally a kiritsuke is a single bevel knife. It's a very traditional single bevel knife that's kind of meant to do a little bit of everything. It's kind of the closest to a chef's knife you're gonna get in a Japanese kitchen, or like a really old school Japanese kitchen. This being a double bevel, it is technically more of a gyuto. Sometimes you'll hear it called a K-tip gyuto, kiritsuke style gyuto. I just think they look cool. Really, like utility, almost identical to a gyuto, but the tip is a little bit finer, which does make it better for more kind of like smaller stuff, delicate stuff like what I'm doing now. Now, when you're mincing garlic or herbs or anything like that, you know, this method of kind of going back and forth over top of it, one hand at the end to create a bit of a pivot point, is why I chose a longer knife for this task. Especially a knife that's got a bit of a belly to it, allows for some better, more easy rocking. It's what they're for. It's kind of the perfect knife for the job. I shouldn't have done the chicken next because I have green onions to cut. But a honesuki, this is what they're meant for, right? Butchering poultry, chickens, ducks, turkeys. You can get a bigger version of a honesuki called a garasuki, which are for much bigger birds. So I'm just gonna take the legs off, the breast off. We'll save the bones and the wings for stock. What are we doing with these bones, Nathan? You gonna bring these home and like raise a chicken zombie or what? Nice thing about a honesuki is that they are tall enough that you can chop with them a little bit. So they make it like, you know, we talked about the petty being a good option for somebody who maybe is afraid of a larger knife. A honesuki will do it too. The reason why you reach for a honesuki for butchery is because they've got the fine point and the sturdy heel. So if you're getting near bones and whatnot, you don't need to worry quite so much. Or if you're just removing a bit of tendon or fat, you've got a more delicate option at the front. So next up, I'm gonna slice some scallions, some green onions here. I got this Tsujihiki, not my first pick, but it'll do. The reason why you wouldn't, this isn't normally a knife for, you know, slicing larger pieces of meat, or, you know, you could skin a salmon with it, anything like that. Not a great option for chopping because it's not very tall. But if I hang off the back of the cutting board like I did with my petty, this will be just fine. Somebody didn't buy the right sausage, and he knows it, and he made a call. It's not a terrible call, but it changes what I was gonna do. So now I'm gonna use this 90 mil petty to open this bag. We gotta take the sausage out of the casing, because that'll be better. Now, what we could do, if I wasn't just cooking on a box, like this isn't a real kitchen, I don't know if you can tell. There's no sink and there's no stove. This is like fancy camp is really what's going on. We could poach these or roast them and then slice them into rounds. So if you have an opinion about how sausage should be in a jambalaya in usual Chris fashion, I don't care. But a knife, joking aside, a knife this size is great for any of these little small kind of in-hand tasks. You know, it's easy to control, it's small, it's sharp, it's pointy, it's everything you need a knife to be. And sometimes you really just need something for these little simple jobs. So I've been waiting to use this knife. I've never used a Zero Co bunka before, and they're very nice. They're very pretty. They got this very pretty ironwood handle, a little mosaic pin. A Co bunka, Co means little or small, sometimes like child-sized. And a bunka, we saw a bunka earlier, right? It was like a Santoku size. This is a little one. Big, small, Co, normal, whatever. I'm gonna use this to chop up some shrimp. We could have had some shrimp that had the tails on and stuff, made this a little more entertaining for you, but apparently we've got the worst grocery store in the world. I've never done any of this work, but I'm not happy about it. A Co bunka, kind of like the 135 mil petty. If you just picture yourself doing little jobs like, you know, we're doing shrimp right now, could be a cherry tomato, could be, I don't know. I just picture this kind of stuff is great for the person making a kid's lunch, right? You're cutting a sandwich. Maybe you've got like, there's a summer sausage, you just gotta hack some of it off. Like, you're not gonna do a ton of prep with this, but it is going to be immensely useful. It's just a tiny chef's knife. Yeah, so everything's all chopped up. We're gonna get to cooking it now. I got a big old pot and an induction burner here in the fancy camp at the warehouse. And yeah, sausage in, brown it up, sausage out, chicken in, brown it up, chicken out. And then we'll get to the next step. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna brown the meat. We're gonna do it separate. We're gonna do the sausage first, then we're gonna do the chicken. Once we take all that out, we're going to saute all the veggies that we chopped up, let those cook down a bit, get nice and soft. We got some tomato paste, some canned tomatoes, we got some spices. I'm gonna throw everything in. Don't rush it, all right? Most of the flavor is gonna come out of browning the meat. Make sure you do a good job. Same thing with your mirepoix or your, you know, our peppers and onions and celery. Make sure everything cooks down. This isn't a thing that you just throw together and it's done in 20 minutes. It does take some time. So we've got a, I don't know, it's all coming together here. We got a couple last steps. We used a ton of different knives to throw this jambalaya together. Every knife got a different job. Hopefully we were able to show you what different shapes were good for. That was the goal. Hopefully we got there. You can always let us know how we did in the comments. Yeah, sure, go for it. Just dump it. I'm gonna have to give this some heat though. If you have any other questions, you need some more help picking out a knife, check out these other videos we've made, or shoot us an email, pop into the shops, whatever works. Jesus, sweet baby Jesus.
There, now there's B-roll of it.
Got any cheddar cheese?